When to eat protein. Do you want to know when you should eat protein? Well, the answer is around 20 to 40 grams of protein every 3 to 4 hours. I'll bet you're asking why this particular amount and why this particular time? Well, in order to understand that, we need to understand two things. The two things that we need to understand are, number one, muscle protein synthesis. Number two is the storage of proteins around the body. Let's get into it. So number one, muscle protein synthesis. What is it? Well, muscle protein synthesis occurs when amino acids enter the muscle and allows the muscle to rebuild. So I want you to think of this process like waves in the ocean. So when we have a wave, it goes up and it goes down and it goes up. And protein synthesis is very similar. So let's just say that I go to the gym, I'm doing my bicep workout, I'm lifting those barbells, those dumbbells, those B-bells, whatever it is. And I do a workout, my muscles are gonna want some energy because they've been broken down, so that they're gonna want some proteins to rebuild themselves stronger. I eat the meal, what happens is we go up for a wave, okay? We break down the proteins in the food that we've eaten and we supply the body with amino acids, and the muscles will use those amino acids and it will start to build up the muscle protein. Now, let's just say that it's 4 to 6 hours later since our last meal. So we had a workout, we had a meal, and then now it's 4 to 6 hours later. Well, what happens? Well, we don't store proteins. As I'll get into the next section, we don't store proteins. So what happens is when the body needs amino acids for particular things, we'll get into that later, the body starts to break down, okay, muscle protein to provide the body with amino acids. So if you do get confused with amino acids, proteins, real simple, amino acids make up proteins. Proteins are made up of amino acids. Proteins are long chains of amino acids. Amino acids are singular bricks, okay? So proteins are a brick house, okay? Amino acids are the single bricks. Amino acids build up to proteins. Proteins are made up of bricks, okay? So just a bit of example if you are getting a bit confused between the words amino acids and the words proteins. They are interchangeable. As you can see, ladies and gentlemen, muscle protein synthesis, it's just like a wave motion. We build up the muscle and then we break it down. And this happens throughout the day. And you might be thinking to yourself, but hang on, SXT Fit Stefan Ramsey, I don't want to break down muscle. Okay, I don't want to break down muscle. I don't want to go down on this wave. I don't want my muscles to be break down. And the answer is, well, neither do I. Okay, but the answer is, as long as we are consuming more protein than we are breaking down, which basically means a net nitrogen balance or a net protein intake, at the end of the day, we are going to synthesize or build up more muscle. Okay, we're going to have more high-end waves than we are down waves, if that makes sense. So just to clarify, we're always breaking down muscle and we're always building it up. And what we want to do is ensure that we provide the muscles with enough energy that at the end of the day, we've built up more than we've broken down. So that carries on to the bit of a metabolism video that I also went through a couple weeks ago, if you want to check that out. So to answer the question again, why should we take in 20 to 40 grams of protein every 3 to 4 hours? Well, the answer is number one, okay, because of how muscle protein synthesis works, like a wave. Okay, and number two was we don't store protein. So I want to go through that right now. Okay, guys, so the body doesn't store proteins. Let's go through an example. If I eat a bowl of rice, which is a carbohydrate, the body's going to store it, okay, as glycogen in the muscle and liver, and any excess will be converted to fat. If I consume 10 Mars bars, again, any excess will be stored as fat in adipose tissue or fatty tissue around the body. So carbs and fat have a particular storage where we can just get them. Proteins, it's a bit different. If I have 500 grams of protein right now, okay, it's going to go down 3 metabolic pathways. Or also think of it as 3 doorways. There's a Simpsons episode where Bart, he's got the line and he's got to choose this thing. 3 doorways that protein goes down, okay? The first door that protein goes down is the synthesis of proteins. For example, muscle protein synthesis. So we use the proteins to build up muscle. That's the first door, okay? The second door that protein goes down is for the use of important compounds such as insulin, which is a hormone. So the third door that protein goes down is it's either broken down, okay, and used for energy, or if there is a lot of excess, okay, we will store it as fat. Let's go through an example right now of what we're talking about as a holistic point of view. I've just finished a workout at Anytime Fitness. Big props to those guys. And also, also Hammer House in Brunswick. Big ups to those gyms as well. Just finished the workout. I go down to my favorite German supermarket, Aldinas Aridianos, and I buy myself a nice bright red, juicy 500 gram steak. I get home, I drizzle some oil in a stone pan, and I cook that steak so perfectly that I start to hear Matt Preston even lick his lips. So what happens is it'll take around 4 to 8 hours to break down this 500 gram steak. And this steak, okay, will have 3 metabolic pathways, as I've discussed before. Okay, just to recap, the steak that I'm eating, it's gonna go down 3 paths. It's gonna be used for muscle protein synthesis, a synthesis of important hormones and compounds, and also it's gonna be broken down into energy or be stored as fat. Okay, so what happens if we take that same 500 gram steak and we break it into 10 pieces of 50 grams and eat it throughout the day, okay? So what we're saying is there's many different diets out there. There's fasting diets where people have 1 meal a day. And what we're not saying is that if you have a 500 gram steak, it's all gonna be wasted. That's not what we're saying. What we are saying is that based on what we know, that we don't store proteins, what do we think is gonna be the most logical progression, okay, for a large amount of proteins? Okay, what do we think? Well, first of all, one thing we also know is that once we provide the muscles with a certain amount of amino acids or a certain amount of proteins, they can only absorb so much. Therefore, there's going to be an excess, okay? And we have to figure out what that limit is. There's going to be an excess point. There's going to be a point where our muscles can no longer continue muscle protein synthesis because there's too much amino acids already in there. So, ladies and gentlemen, I want you to think of Scrubs or a doctor show where you see the guy, he's on the hospital bed and he's got that saline bag solution that's hanging and it's got a little pipe and it goes down to his vein. And what's happening? Well, he's being drip fed a saline or water and salt solution, okay? So he's being drip fed. And that's basically what we're saying here today. We're saying that if you have 500 grams of protein in one meal, you're gonna get your amino acids and you're gonna get your protein. Okay, but if you change that into smaller pieces, what you're going to be doing is you're going to be drip feeding your body with amino acids and proteins, which hopefully increases the efficiency of the protein turnover and muscle protein synthesis process. Okay, so as I said before, muscle protein synthesis, it's a wave, it goes up and down. So what happens is if we have a big meal, we're going to have a huge wave like this. Okay, but then we're also going to have massive downs. Okay, so that's what we're doing. If we have a massive meal and then we don't eat for another 10 hours after that, such as fasting, we're gonna go up and we're gonna go down. All right, guys, just to summarize when to eat protein, 20 to 40 grams of protein every 3 or 4 hours because we don't store proteins and we wanna provide a nice smooth wave of proteins or amino acids into the muscle so that it can engage in muscle protein synthesis in the most efficient way rather than providing it with huge amounts of protein at one time and causing a muscle protein synthesis wave that's really high and really low, okay? Huge amounts of amino acids, huge amounts of breakdown. We wanna keep a nice smooth wave, pulse or pace the amount of proteins that we give to our body. Thanks to Dr. Paul Arcerio as well for that protein pacing information as well. We'll go check him out, links below. Also guys, to win fitness prizes, what you can do is you can subscribe to Patreon down below for a couple dollars a month and you'll go into Patreon members only prize competitions. Additionally, you can also get exclusive content that's not on YouTube. Just click the link below in the description. If you haven't subscribed, click the subscribe button in the bottom right hand of the corner. Give this video a thumbs up just like the in-betweeners. Friends, comment below if you have any questions. It's Stefan here at SXT Fit and I'll see you next time.